Welcome back. Now we've got this breaking news. We are watching another bus full of illegal migrants arrive at New York City's Port Authority this morning. Take a look at what we're seeing. This is live happening now. And as you see, the migrants are coming off of the bus into Port Authority. We do not know where they're going from here, but as you know, Texas Governor Greg Abbott has been sending buses to big cities to make sure people understand what Texas is dealing with 2 million people apprehended just in the last year. Texas Governor Greg Abbott's office slamming New York City Mayor Eric Adams. Adams is threatening to sue Texas for sending the buses of migrants to the Big Apple. An Abbott spokesperson is accusing Adams of hypocrisy, saying flat out lying and selectively attacking Texas's busing operation while conveniently ignoring migrants bussed into New York City by Democrat-led El Paso and flown by President Biden from Governor Abbott's office. Joining me right now is New York Congressman and the ranking member of Homeland Security Committee, John Katko. Congressman, thanks very much for being here. You're in Washington, we're in New York, and we watch another bus just arrived at Port Authority this morning. People are getting off of that bus. It looks like a lot of adult males, but there were also some children on that bus. What can you tell us about this program?
Well, good morning, Maria. And I think what's going on is desperation. It's desperation at the border. And you've been down to the border many times. And I was a prosecutor on the border, and I've been down many times this year in my capacity as head of Homeland Security. And I can tell you that what's going on down there is a crisis of a magnitude people just don't understand. There's not a country on earth that would put up with what we're experiencing at the southern border. And so these entities and these jurisdictions on the southern border are completely overwhelmed. They want other people in America to know how overwhelming it is. So by sending a few hundred people to New York City, a city of millions, and then having the mayor complain about the fact that they can't handle them is ridiculous. And it just smacks of hypocrisy at the highest order, because these are the same cities who want sanctuary cities, which means they don't want to prosecute illegal aliens for being there, and they're going to coddle them. Well, they're going to coddle them as long as they don't come. And that's the hypocrisy of it.
Well, that's right, because, you know, they say that they're sanctuary cities, but there's no sanctuary if it's in their backyard.
That's right.
And that's what we saw this weekend at Martha's Vineyard, when the leadership at Martha's Vineyard rounded all those 50 migrants up and they sent them to Cape Cod. And they sent them to a military base, and then they said, oh, they enriched our lives, and they were so happy. No, they weren't happy to leave Martha's Vineyard and go to Cape Cod. But look, I digress. We're talking about New York, and border agents have already encountered nearly 204,000 migrants in August alone. 69% were single adults. 22% had at least one prior encounter in the previous 12 months. So they broke the law, they went back home, and then they came back again, and they got in. Why is the administration allowing this?
Well, the administration is allowing this because I just think that everyone that wants to come into this country should come into this country. You can't have law and order when that happens. And there literally isn't a country in the world, I don't care how liberal that country may be, there's not a European country that will put up with this. They just want these people to come across because they feel sorry for them or whatever. Listen, I was just in Honduras and Guatemala. They don't want the people coming to the United States, but the president has created a huge pull factor, and the Guatemalan and Honduran citizens are telling me time and again how much these people are being exploited on the trip. There's counties along the border in Texas that have to cut their budgets by 10, 15 to 20% just to deal with the dead bodies. There's some counties that are dealing with 1 or 2 deaths a day from people coming across. It's dangerous. Women are getting raped and exploited. Children are being exploited. And it's not a way to do it. If you want to fix immigration, let's sit down and fix it. This isn't the way to fix it. This is chaos, and this is really bad. And by the way, more than 100,000 Americans have died of drug overdoses in the last year. It's now the #1 killer for people 18 to 45 years old. The #1 killer. And the cartels are able to get it across because of the humanitarian crisis.
Well, I was told that the cartels are making $200 million a week just on human smuggling. That doesn't even include the drug smuggling. The Biden administration has overturned a number of Trump administration policies in place. And then when they were told to resume, they basically blew off the law. Now they're claiming they're going to resume construction of President Trump's border wall next month. Will it really happen?
They may do a few symbolic moves, but let's face it, they are instructing Customs and Border Protection to let people in. You saw the images a week or two ago where people on their own private property had their gates locked, and Customs and Border Protection were ordered to go in there and let those people through that gate on the private property. So yeah, they're not going to secure the border, and the only way we're going to secure the border is through the election. And if we take over the House next in the fall, like I think we're going to, I'm in charge of the blueprint. The blueprint's ready to go, and on day one, we're going to have a blueprint to secure the border and hopefully have real meaningful immigration reform follow that. But you got to secure the border first, or you can't even begin to have the discussion on immigration reform.
Well, Congressman, there are so many other issues that New Yorkers are facing. You've got every state being a border state because of the wide open border with drugs flowing through, certainly, and New York is a prime destination for many of these people. But there's also economic issues that have stoked a huge push by people leaving New York. What is that doing to the budget in New York? And what about inflation and the crime skyrocketing in New York? What can you do about it if you do, in fact, get the majority in November?
Well, I think what we got to do is first recognize the root cause of why people are leaving New York State. It's too expensive. When I was a kid, we had more than 40 members of Congress in New York State. We're now down to 26. Think about that. In the meantime, Florida went the exact opposite way. In states where there's low taxes and better business environments, New York is starting to make starting to realize that to some extent. So we have to change the dynamic with respect to the tax structure in New York State and the business structure in New York State. But we also have to. Crime issues are very, very important. That's another prong of what I'm responsible for, is the crime issues. And we're going to send a lot of funding back to the states to refund police and to have ties to that funding, so to make sure that if they accept the funds, they're not going to have sanctuary cities. They're not going to have bail, no bail for murderers, that type of stuff. Yeah. So there's a lot we can do when we take over the House, and we're really excited about it. We're going to do it, and inflation is probably one of the biggest reasons why we're going to do it.
Yeah, well, that is certainly the #1 issue for New Yorkers and American families in general. Congressman, we'll be watching. Thanks very much for being here this morning.
Thanks again, Maria.